Let's get into it. The Vols had chances to come away with yesterday's game with a streak-busting victory. Didn't happen, and we know that a missed 43-yard field goal was a big reason why. I don't think it was the only reason why, though. I know that everyone's going to point, especially guys that hate kickers. They're going to point at Max Gilbert.
Right.
But there were other opportunities to win that game. There were a lot of tackles that could have been made, a lot of plays that could have been broken, a lot of catches that could have been made, etc. Marlon Walls, I'm going to start with you. Let's start talking about the reasons Tennessee wasn't able to finish off that game and win it yesterday.
Well, John, I think you can go a number of reasons. You can go defensively. You can go the fact that we're missing our two corners. But the one I'm going to go with is Star Thomas. Star Thomas, he looked like a different running back compared to the other guys, and that's no slight to the other guys.
Right.
But as far as when that guy touched the ball, he's elusive. He's finding holes, even those tight holes, he can squeeze through those, make another guy miss and get another 5. He only had 9 carries yesterday. I think that was a big difference in the football game. And every time he touched it, you saw a difference maker. We went with him towards the end of the game, and then overtime we went back to Deshaun Bishop. I think that showed for us.
Yeah. It was one of the surprises of the game was to look down at halftime and see you'd only run for 40 yards. And we discussed this before the game. You were throwing it, which is great, but Josh Heupel's teams tend to do better when they're running for 200 yards. To look up and see 40 yards at halftime, that was surprising to me. Mike Stoll, reasons they lost.
Yeah, I think if you look at how Georgia schemed and realized they have a true freshman corner in Redmond, and no knock on him, but the guy had a tough day.
Yeah.
You go from last year playing in high school to this year playing in a big game at home. It's the first time you've ever played a big game, and they took advantage of him. And I think that's disappointing, not so much from his performance, but just from the fact that you hate to see that we didn't have the corners there that we could have. That could have made the difference in the game right there. 1 or 2 plays, especially on the third downs.
I mean, you spent a lot of NIL dollars this year on Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson. And no, I'm not ripping them, but they weren't out there.
Yeah.
You're missing key pieces.
Right.
Al Wilson, reasons for that defeat yesterday.
Well, I kind of agree with Mike. Kirby Smart, he's a football coach, and he gets it. And he literally saw a freshman corner, and from the beginning of the game, he went at him, and he put some pressure on him. And that type of pressure is kind of what you see make or break young guys. Yeah. And he was really one of those guys that had a tough day. But I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to be a great football player. But I think that was one of the big pieces that made us not get the W like we wanted to yesterday, for sure.
Well, I'd say all of you guys look back to a freshman year, and we've talked about yours at Alabama, and Saban ran at you 3 straight times.
Power, straight at me.
You've all had that freshman moment. That was
Absolutely.
probably Ty Redmond's yesterday.
Yep.
Will Overstreet, reasons for the defeat.
Well, I just think there's too much on the edge. Like, if I looked at it, where did they try to do? They used scheme in a lot of different ways. They loaded up heavy. It didn't look like we adjusted at times to get to that. T-Lander got beat off the edge a couple of times where he just didn't have the speed to catch the running back, and they got off to the edge. They threw some little slip passes out to the side where trips, and the tight end was on Boo Carter, turns him inside. A lot of this scheming and stuff was like, how do we get our guys on the edge? I thought they did a very good job, Mike Bobo did, of picking up some plays in the run game and on quick passes out to the edge where they had better matchups. They had guys on the right guys that they wanted at the time to either get the blocks. They would move Aaron Carter out when they saw they were a man. They'd motion a guy out. He would leave, and all of a sudden they'd have numbers. So I thought a little bit of we got a little bit out schemed and a little bit out of place with their formations and what they were doing. And it's probably they put in a bunch of new stuff that we hadn't seen on tape. So I think they did that was part of the reason they won, and part of the reason they had, they were 8 of 17 on third down and 2 of 2 on fourth down, right? So those are the things that kept them on the field and kept drives alive, and that's where you got beat.
I want to roll into something you said there, but there were also some specific areas. I thought and we'll get into this a little bit later, failing to cash in after the strip sack in the fourth quarter, where you go conservative. We'll talk about that, and you wind up kicking a field goal. Failed to stop Georgia on the touchdown drive, and then the 2-point conversion where they were absolutely just wide open. And your offense went silent in the middle third of the game. And I'm going to leave that hanging there for a second, tie this back together, because I want to get into Joey Aguilar. I want to spend the rest of this segment on Aguilar. Let's take a look at his numbers yesterday, okay? It was a wild ride, but the guy's clearly ready for the big time. Best quarter by an SEC quarterback in 20 years, and he did it against a Kirby Smart defense. 14 of 14 for 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in that first quarter. Then the middle third of the game, 3 of 11, 26 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's inaccurate. And to start with, you're getting yak for the first time since Hendon Hooker was here because of the ball placement. He's hitting receivers and leading them. Then that kind of went away, and this gets back to the scheming and the Kirby Smart thing that Will was talking about. After the game, Aguilar said, yeah, they gave us some different looks there after the start, and I had to do a better job of catching up with it. I love the fact this kid puts the blame on himself, even when it doesn't belong there. Then after that, they overcome it. 7 of 11 to finish, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Guys, if you told me Joey Aguilar would go 24 of 36 for 371 yards, 4 touchdowns through the air, another one on the ground, 2 INTs, I'd have thought Tennessee won that game. I'd have taken that all day and all night. Your thoughts on Joey Aguilar and his performance?
I would say that the biggest thing I noticed was in that middle half where we kind of sloped off, tempo, man, tempo. This kid did a great job of maneuvering the tempo. It looked like he was on top of his game. He was quicker. He was accurate. We found our mismatches versus Georgia, and then we slowed the ball game down, and then you saw it kind of like it fell off. We see the 2 interceptions. We're not as accurate with the football. Kirby Smart get a chance again. He's a football coach. You got to give him that credit. He's able to make his adjustment, get his guys on the field, lined up where they're supposed to. I think up tempo, we saw the best Joey Aguilar, and then when we slowed it down, they kind of figured us out, and then we ramped it back up again. So I think the biggest thing was the kid played outstanding, but you've got to keep the tempo going.
Yeah, for some reason, everybody says, well, it's got to be after a first down or a big play. There were times in that first half, those first 3 drives, where you didn't get a big first down. It's 2nd and 8, and you still stayed fast. Yeah. I don't understand why this team decides to leave that tempo from time to time.
I think a lot of it has to do with what was happening to the defense, right? Georgia's going on long, sustained drives. They had a 10-play drive, a 12-play drive. Those long drives where your defense out. If you go tempo and you're 3 and out, they're back on the field.
Especially to start the second half. I get that.
Yeah, I think things can run away with you. I agree with the tempo piece 100%. Dude is playing amazing. I think the other thing that I really take a lot out of this, because of what he's gone through, and because of his journey, and because of how he faced what he did against Georgia, I feel good about him going on the road. I feel good about him the rest of the season because he has shown himself to be a ball player, to be somebody that says, you know what, I'm not going to be phased, I'm not going to be knocked down, I'm going to keep coming back. I love that about him as a fighter.
Your guys' thought on Joey Aguilar?
Loved him. One of those interceptions obviously wasn't his fault. The receiver slipped. So you got to take that away from him. But he looks like he's been in our system for years. He looks comfortable. You can tell he's played a lot of football. And at that position, he has that mentality that I love, that even kill mentality. Not get too high when you win, not get too low when you lose, but stay pretty even kill. And those things are what's going to help us take us to the next level as a Tennessee football team. He's going to be the guy that's going to be the difference maker for us. Going forward, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do.
What I expected, Will, when I looked at a guy who had 56 touchdowns and 24 interceptions, I figured you'd get the first 2/3 of that game yesterday, where you'd have ups and you'd have downs. What I didn't anticipate and didn't know and had no way of knowing, that you can have a streak of down, and he's tough enough and mentally right enough to come back and turn it back on and get it going again. Right. That last third to me was the most impressive part of his day.
I totally agree with that. And I think the biggest thing that comes out, you can look at those first 2 games we played this year and you can go, is this fool's gold, right? Is this, hey, I'm seeing this against bad competition. I'm not really expecting this. What happens when you play top-tier defenses? Does it all come to light and go, yeah, on air, basically, we can do really good. But when you play a top-tier defense, I think he proved to everybody in the SEC last night, hey, this guy is a force to be reckoned with. He is that good, and so you have to prepare for him and be ready for him. But I think that was the biggest thing coming out was he proved himself as not just, hey, I can do this against cupcakes, but I have the ability to do this against really good talent.
Right.
And we're once again left asking, why is it that Josh Heupel's history suggests he's better with the 3-star quarterback than he is a 5-star quarterback. Milton had all the tools in the world. Nico was a 5-star guy. You go back, Dylan Gabriel. It's the guys who are the underdogs. And I don't know that that's just relating to them. I don't know that he runs the offense differently, but there's no denying it at this point. And it concerns you that you've got a 5-star coming in next year.
Well, there's also, was the 5-star correctly rated on a couple of people?
Well, there's part of that too. Yeah, obviously.
Right.
Good thing Ryan Callahan isn't here.